What's going on, guys? And we're back with another episode of F.O.P.
Look at this dude.
From our perspective to yours. So we're here with
I like that.
You like that? You like that a little bit? You know, hey, workshop some things. You know, let me know what y'all think. But hey, guys, we're back. We're excited, and we're here with another movie full spoiler review of Thor: Love and Thunder.
You heard him. Full spoiler review. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, for some reason, if you're living under a rock, hit like, put this to your liked videos, your save for later videos. Go watch the movie. It's great.
Go
and then come back and check out this video. Without that being said, how you feeling? Thor: Love and Thunder.
Let's just, overall thoughts real quick. I enjoyed it. I walked away pleasantly enjoyed. I was entertained the whole time. Again, not a perfect movie, and we're gonna go into that, you know. Yeah. But for me, myself, I walked away entertained.
I think there's something that you said that really captured it for me as well. When we walked out, you said, "Yeah, that's what I needed from a Thor adventure." Something along those lines, and I totally agree. I think that this was a really good time, and it shows when the actor is having a fun time, and it projects off the screen, and you can tell that Chris Hemsworth is having a good time being directed by Taika again in this one, of course. And yeah, I agree. I think this was another great outing, in my opinion, for Taika in the MCU and for Thor. I enjoyed myself very much. There were so many things that I loved about this movie. I don't even genuinely know where to start. I guess we could really pick anywhere.
Yeah, so we'll just go through it and kind of pinpoint things we might want to talk about. So before we get into that, there is a question I did have for you.
Okay.
Do you think, just a question, I feel like once we get, you know, with all this juicy, meaty superhero stuff we're getting, MCU with Disney Plus, back-to-back TV shows, this is the 6th or 7th installment movie as far as, or maybe I'm adding a couple.
This phase, I think it's 6. I think
6-1 of Phase 4?
Yeah.
Do you personally feel like there's any sort of superhero fatigue for you coming into Thor?
I think,
because I know we also have other projects like The Boys that's out, things like that, and then we have like Peacemaker, you know, all these things is coming out. So this is a question I wanted to.
I think that's a great question.
About that.
I think that for me personally, I have such a love for this fantastical realm that is the MCU and that is superheroes that. It's really hard for me to get fatigued, especially when, in my opinion, we haven't really got, in the ratio of the amount of superhero content we're being flooded with, we don't really get a lot of bad superhero content, and at least I'm not intaking a lot of bad superhero content. And so for me, I would just have to say simply no. But then again, I could see where other people are coming from, just like how you addressed. With the MCU alone, in this one phase, we've got, like 13, 14 projects?
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, so I understand. And that doesn't even include anything else like DC, like you said, The Boys, Invincible. There are other shows that fall in that same superhero genre, but I think as long as the storytelling is fresh and the writing is good and you can, again, like I said earlier, you can tell that who you're watching is having a good time playing that role. I think that kind of stuff projects, and once you get into that world, it's like anything else, like having fatigue about any type of genre ever. I mean, in general, just kind of based on the ratio of how good and how bad it is. Because if a lot of the stuff that's come out was really bad, I'd probably be saying that I kind of ready to take a break and give them some time to put their mind in a different headspace and reattack the situation. But I think they're doing phenomenally. What about you? Do you think, we haven't even spoken about this before, do you think at all, just MCU and in general, do you think there's a superhero fatigue thing that we need to be worried about?
I personally don't. Not unless you're Sony, because I don't need another Venom. But
hey, argument there.
But jokes aside, no, I don't. That's kind of why I even wanted to ask the question, because I thought about it myself, and I don't get that feeling. I feel the same sentiments as you. As long as we keep getting it in a nuanced, fresh telling, or just at least if it's like a character like Thor, or I'll say just MCU characters that we still have with us. Once we get like that sequel, I'm just more interested to see how they progress the overarching MCU story as a whole, plus their own personal story, because their movie is about them, which this movie also was very personal too. We'll get into that, but no, I feel the same sentiments, just as long as it's not another Venom, because we don't need another Venom.
I think that's one thing, love or hate the MCU currently, how it's been going post they're really doing this. They're tackling the cancer thing. And I felt like they did this job of, yes, it's very aware. You can't not have this conversation, especially when she's hiding it from people. But I never felt like it was overbearing. They did it in a job that made you feel like, yes, cancer is real. And this is like, we're, again, like we talked about at the beginning, we're in a superhero world, but we're still dealing with someone who has a very real issue, something we deal with every day. And I thought they did that magnificently. I thought her story was great.
Yeah, I agree. Do you feel like this was the start of the tone shift, introducing her coming out of the MRI scene?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, because let's be honest, it almost feels like taboo, you know, the word cancer. So,
yeah, it did.
Just getting right into that with her once we got introduced to her, I think that it is a tonal shift because you can't not, you know, think about it in that negative light, especially when you find out, again, right at the beginning that this isn't light. She's not just finding out. She's got stage 4. It's deep. She's very deep into the process. She's been basically given like a time frame, what she needs to be doing to basically extend her life. And, you know, we get to see her trying her best with her and Selvig, which was a nice little callback.
Same with Darcy showing up in the room.
Fabulous.
I love that too. Shout out to you, Darcy.
Nice little callbacks to, this is very real and you need to take it slow and do your best to, you know, try to prolong your life. And but then, of course, like in the fabulous Taika fashion, this is where it shines. The Taika fashion and Natalie Portman just being the phenomenal actress that she is. That lightheartedness of, she's getting chemo sitting next to someone who's reading her book, and I thought that hit perfectly. I think that's like a light way to put the situation, and then
yeah, I think this is where I will commend Taika. I feel like that moment you can very much tell that Jane was trying to make light out of the situation they were in, but everyone else around her kind of knew what was at stake and just knew, like, you know, kind of just, you know, the read the room kind of feeling. Because even Darcy, which again, shout out to you, Darcy didn't feel like her normal self, but it made sense because, you know, her friend has cancer, like her best friend, so it's like, and even like you said, she asked her like, oh, did you tell anybody else, like, you know, any other, you know, Viking type people, like
you call
can
Thor.
tell, yeah, like you can tell she's very much kept to herself about this stage 4 cancer that she's dealing with. And just shout out to Jane. I mean, she's just, I just love the let's make this lightheartedness without it being goofy, because that's something I don't think would have translated great from the beginning into at least that part. Just as far as like, let me not try to crack a joke right now. Let me just let Jane be Jane with the whole, okay, this person's reading my book, so of course she would like, you know.
Let me nerd out.
Right, exactly. Which I did like. I like that part a lot. It felt real wholesome and like humble. So I loved all of that. And then even from there, again, like you brought up Dr. Selvig, it was cool to just even, I don't think we saw him, but it was cool to just hear like the audio, like, you know, they're still in contact and everything. And apparently they were running trials to try and see if anything would work. Apparently nothing happened. And then she started to get a good old vibe. Look towards them old books of them tall tales, eh?
I thought that was so interesting. Then, of course, later in a scene that you've commended quite a lot, and I totally agree with you. I think it's so refreshing. We get this nice little montage, if you will, of them in their time frame between what we assume is the Dark World and Age of Ultron, post Age of Ultron, that kind of time frame. And you get this moment where you find out why the Hammer was calling to her, which I thought was so interesting. And even something minute that you brought up is that even with it being broken, you still can't lift it. They had to take the whole section of grass from where it
I love
apart.
that. I love that little detail. Perfect. See, look, that's what I come to these movies for, guys. Things just like that, because that's enough for me. Real quick, do you think, because I wasn't sure if it was going to work or not. Honestly, I kind of thought it was. Did you think her getting the Thor powers would have helped the cancer at all?
Optimistically, yes, because I wanted her to be around a bit longer.
Same.
Spoiler, obviously, she doesn't make it. But optimistically, yeah, and I felt like there's a chance we could be going that direction, especially as we get further down the road, and then we learn about the eternity thing, and specifically what's going to happen when they get there. But there came a point in the movie where I knew that she wasn't going to make it out of this film, and it sucked. It was very sad. I think they did a great job with that, but I wanted it to help. And they did a good job of selling it at first, and then it's not till that moment later in the film after their first meeting, after they fight Gore for the first time in New Asgard, where you get that moment of she puts the hammer down and then boom, normal Jane comes back, and you see that she definitely looks significantly worse than the first time we had seen her, and you can tell from that moment that it is affecting her.
Yeah, and I do like the little moments we have from her, like being powered up as a mighty Thor and then coming out of it, and she's still like her withered, kind of dealing with cancer. So I thought those were shot well too. But from there, she takes a
and then we get into this beautiful scene with the connection of the hammer reconnecting, catching the pieces of the Necro Sword.
Oh, so dope.
Which looked crazy. And then there's that one final, like, hero strike. Also, Jane does her thing, like, oh, I'm not some lady. One, I'm Dr. Jane Foster. And when I'm not that, I'm the mighty Thor.
Yeah,
like,
she was in her bag.
Yeah.
That worked. That whole, like, her 1, 2, 3 thing for him, that worked for me. I was like, girl, do your thing, bro.
No,
like, yeah,
facts.
It worked for me, bro. So I was like, she's in her bag right now. So, yeah, she killed it. I think, and I love we got the Thor fight, then she comes in to really be the one since it's like her first villain.
Yeah.
I love and even the parallels between them, because I know Gore kind of alludes to that a little bit as well, to when he's talking to her. Just that whole thing was just great. Just her triumphant, and it's cool too that they use that scene in the trailer to almost like I don't know how they did it. It's like in the trailer it felt empowering, but then here, not that it didn't feel empowering, but it was almost like a little more endearing, because this was like, once I'm done doing this is pretty much the last stand. Almost, with her like powering up Mjolnir and then slamming on the ground, and that like destroying the remnants of the Necro Sword and like cutting the power off. All of that whole thing, great. 10 out of 10 right there for me.
Yeah, agreed. It hit so well. And then of course them having to follow Gore into the Eternity, Affinity, TBD, let us know down area, which I think is also the tied for another beautiful, beautiful set where they're just standing on this. It almost gave me Kingdom Hearts vibes.
Yeah, exactly. Bro, yes, literally. I'm like, that's any Kingdom Hearts fan knows that's what this is right here. So
it was so beautiful. And then you just get this, from the moment that Gore kneels down below this god, you get this beautiful exchange, and it just starts this domino effect of beautiful dialogue between him and Gore. And Wolf, I'm dying, it doesn't matter, like, why would I do that? Your daughter won't be alone, like, you can wish her back. I'm not trying to persuade you to not use the wish. I'm just trying to make sure you use it for the right things. I know you were treated wrong, but don't do something that'll have this kind of effect. And then you have these moments with him and Jane of like, this is it, like, I am passing. I'm getting goosebumps. I'm passing on, and I just want to share these moments with you. And that's what I love. Where like Thor is like, he's like, I won. Like Gore's kind of like, why aren't you like doing anything? He's like, if you're really gonna do this, why would I spend my last minutes talking to you? Like,
yeah,
I
like
can spend it
there's
with her.
no way I can stop you now. So it's either you do what you do.
Yeah,
and,
I thought the delivery of that was amazing. Just him kind of being like, you won. There is no denying that. You're here. You're the one who gets the wish. I'm just trying to speak my piece, and then I'm going to spend what could possibly be my and her last few minutes on this earth together. And I thought that was incredibly beautiful. And that's when the man tears started to flow.
Yeah, Thor's journey throughout this whole movie was just like again, another thing I picked up on, just like the reopening of his heart, because he definitely wasn't like... Yes, they caught the dub at the end of Endgame, but you can tell he was still having to deal with certain things from that, even coming into this movie. So I love it's like another character arc for Thor, with him just being able to let love back in. And even though he lost again, as far as just someone he loved, he was able to open that up. He was able to open up his heart to be able to take in someone who was his villain, who was like trying to kill his daughter, which I thought was like, you have to have a big heart to be able to do that, because there's not a lot of people would do that. So that's something that just that just resonated with me. That again, like you said, he just decided to tell Gore like, "You got that, you're good. I'm gonna go chill with my girl," and then just their interaction between each other, and then Gore's kind of like looking at them and just being like, it almost seemed like Gore was like, "Why are you so hesitant? Like, why won't you stop me?" Almost that's kind of the vibe I got. Like he's really surprised, and maybe it's because Thor was a god, or was that he's a god to him. So maybe he was kind of like, damn, this is a god that's kind of acting like this. Yeah. And they get that exchange between both of them of like, oh, yeah, like you can use your wish to bring your daughter back. Them being hesitant to do that because he knows he's going to pass soon. It's like, what is she going to do if I'm gone? And then just she James. Yeah, that line was just so endearing because she knew, again, like there needed to be no extra dialogue. She said that, or she looked at Thor, looked at Gore, said that, and just looked back at Thor and is like, I know me saying this, you get what I mean by that, and I know you as a person isn't going to let just some child like be on its own. And I just love the faith that she has in Thor, and I love Thor for just having that same faith back in her, to being like, thank you for almost believing in me that I can do that. Yeah. So going again, Christian Bale did his thing for me in this movie. I normally, depending on how a villain can change or don't change, because they kind of just one and done them. Yeah. You know, could work for some people, could not work for some people. But for me, this worked because it just brought Gore back to the man he was before the Necro Sword. Yeah. Almost kind of something I wish happened with Wanda, but that's a whole nother video. But yeah, I just love the whole that's what that was. We had to remind the villain who you were before you were a villain, because it made sense why you went on this warpath. Everyone agreed with you, but it's almost like you took this promise you made to kill all the gods, and you forgot the man you were. And it might sound corny, but love is what saved the day, guys. It can happen. He wasn't like this the whole time. He wasn't the bad guy. He just got put in a bad place, bad decision. So I love that he used his final wish to bring his daughter back. And then with that, we get the last exchange between Thor and Jane Foster before she ultimately goes. And again, a strong choice to not let the last line or her last catchphrase be known to the world. Yes. I love that that's something only those two actors, if she even said anything, which I think she came out and said she did, but she's not going to say what. I love that only those two share that. Yeah. And I think that's just like it's sad. I love it. It's like a bittersweet ending for me, and I love that just those two have that together. Because then we might hear it later on in the Thor 5, maybe. Who knows? But that was a great send-off for Jane Foster.
Yeah, it was a great send-off and a really, really good conclusion to a story that felt a bit just quickly door shut previously in the MCU due to outside relationships. So it was really nice to get a full circle conclusion to their relationship and their story, and that was just the right way to end it. And I think that, again, the conclusion of her arc in this movie was just so... she steals the show, and she's just so good, and their relationship is fantastic, and I'm glad it was at the forefront of this movie, because that's what I wanted, and that's what I got.
Yeah, it needed to be. It was okay with her not being in Ragnarok. I don't think anyone particularly missed Jane, not in a bad way, but this movie made me realize I did miss Jane. Yeah. You know? So,
I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, so I did love that we finally got that closure with her character, Thor and her's relationship, all that. I loved it. And honestly, I feel like now we have a little, like, her spirit's in all of us now. That's kind of how I feel at the end of this movie. So I love that. Like that was a little deep. Yeah, like that. Hey, I ain't write that down. That's off the cuff, man.
No note for that one. And then, of course, just kind of like the final like little recap is we get Thor Dad, which I think is so sweet. Even that, I told you, it got me a little choked up just to kind of see like where we're at in his life. It gave me the same response that I got in Endgame when Tony walked out his cabin and you get to meet Morgan for the first time. And just this person we grew up with, their dad now, their father. And it just felt so... great way to end the film. And of course you get that they'll be known as Love and Thunder.
Yeah, again, letting Korg just finish the tale at the end of the movie just worked again. I love that. And like you said too, I love the whole Gore's daughters being taken care of Thor, and I love that she's this kind of infinite being, I guess. I don't know. That's another we'll find out. Yeah, like I wonder, that's something I've been trying to figure out. Like do you think that eternity or whatever manifested into her, or since she is a wish from him, she has like remnants of him in her as far as like powers maybe? I'm more leaning towards the second.
Yeah, I don't know if it's literally like a new embodiment of that being, but maybe a connective tissue.
Yeah.
Kind of like I don't know, when Jinchuriki loses the. This is a deep dive for non-anime watchers. I'm sorry, but this is like when the Jinchuriki leaves the beast leaves the Jinchuriki. They still have that chakra inside of them. That's kind of the vibe I got.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Because I'm like, there's no way Eternity's just like hanging out with Thor and like calling Thor uncle. Like, I'm not gonna buy that. I'm not gonna buy that. So I do like I like the theory more so that since the wish came from Eternity, there's a piece of Eternity within this child, which could be another plot point possibly. Who knows? She could be cracked. She seems like she's cracked if she can hold Stormbreaker, as far as I've seen, and shooting freaking Eternity beams out her eyes. I don't know, man.
Laser beams out her freaking
again,
eyes.
the players this movie introduces with just the Greek gods, Zeus, Eternity, all these different realms.
Very subtly,
that's
too.
Just, that's like it's like we get this pseudo world building with Thor that like, we might not go back to these places, but these places definitively exist. Yeah. So when it's referenced again, if it ever does get referenced, we know a little bit about it. You know, this was like us doing our homework, like setting up. So I love that.
Yeah.
And just final thoughts. Overall, I like this movie. I had a lot of I'm a sucker for like the kid thing, so I kind of ate that up if it's done well. So Thor being Uncle Dad now, I love that. Like the little girl is cute. Do you think she was a power being before being wished back, or because I don't know. Lean
I would say
no, but yeah,
but maybe we'll find out. But I would say no.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. But yeah, overall, I like this movie, guys. I like Thor. It really came into its bag a little right after the Guardians left, and I think that just also confirmed that maybe we don't. It worked in Endgame and Infinity War, but I think that's just confirmed maybe we don't need a Thor Guardians I don't need tag team thing or like a prolonged movie with them. It sounded good in theory, but I just think depending on who's writing that movie, it can't be a. I just don't think it's like a Taika Waititi person to be writing that movie if we got it, because I just don't think they meld well together.
I totally agree with you. I think overall this movie is an incredibly good time. It is funny at times, but it can also get very deep, and I'm a huge fan when they're able to meld that very well, and Taika Waititi is very, very good at that. If you've seen any of his most recent, Ragnarok alone, incredibly dark film. Jojo Rabbit, he does it again in that. This is just another showcase of what he's able to do. This is definitely more Taika than Ragnarok. But it works. When it works, it works. It doesn't work the entire film, but when it works, it really, really does. It really hits. I think this is another... we sound like Marvel shills, but I don't care. This is another great entry into the MCU. I think this movie is a big win for them. It's continuing to blow up at the box office. It's going to be a big win for them. I know it brought in more money than... It is now the highest grossing Thor film. Opening weekend at the very least. This movie is great. It does have its issues. We've addressed. I have issues with it. I think that it's not perfect. There are characters I would have liked to see a bit more of. Maybe characters I could have seen a bit less of. But this is great. I will rewatch this anytime. Anytime someone recommends this, it's definitely a big rewatch for me. This is a go-to. This is a win for them.
Oh yeah, sure. I don't think something I've heard a lot and kind of talked to a lot of people about is like the declining of MCU content since we've been getting it so much. I don't think it's happening yet. I think we have some good ones, some all right ones, but never bad. Yeah,
agreed. I think that there are ones that, but that's just how things go. You've got those par levels, and I think that the MCU overall is still incredibly enjoyable, and they're consistently mixing it up and doing great things with their content and the things that they're putting out. And yeah, like you said, this is just a win. So this is F.O.P. Are we still doing take it or leave it? Like, how you want to do this?
Hey, let's do it. We'll figure it out as we move on, guys. But talk to me. What do you think? What are you telling the people out there?
This is easily a big take. Obviously, if you got this far in the video, you've seen this movie, but hell, go see it again. You know you want to. It is good. It is worth the time. It is worth the visit. If you got a couple hours that you're just trying to kill, go see this movie. It is so much fun. I think you'll enjoy it. And like we talked about, second viewings are for those nitpicks. You get to look, you get to analyze more scenes, enjoy color palettes more, emotions rise the second time. This is definitely a big take.
Yeah, guys, I share the same sentiments. Overall, I loved it. I think you should check it out if you're a Marvel fan. You'll get something out of it. What might not work for us might work for you, and vice versa. So please check it out. Let us know what you think. And just to close out real quick, those post-credit scenes. What'd you think real fast?
I mean, you know me. I was the hypest one in our theater when it came to the first one.
What's his name?
It's Roy Kent.
Roy Kent, baby.
Hey, if you watch Ted Lasso, you know I'm so excited. This guy is a fabulous writer. His comedic timing is fantastic. If you know what I'm talking about when he plays Roy Kent, so good. I'm so excited that he's going to be in the MCU. I'm so interested to what they're going to do with Hercules and what him being involved further will mean on a lore basis, because he's not the only one we're going to get to know.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's just going to introduce again some more lore from Thor world that we'll get to see. Maybe we might get a grittier Thor bumping on it Hercules if it comes down to that, which would be a cool fight. And then it was cool to see. Shout out to you, Hemdall. We got to see you, man. You came in for the 4th movie. You already know they couldn't take the niggas out. You already know. So shout out to you, bro. And I feel like they've talked about one thing just to close out. I feel like they brought up Valhalla a lot, so I won't be surprised if we revisit that as maybe getting someone back from there, or maybe someone's going there and then might have to stay there, but it might not be bad because the love of his life might be there. So in all due time, guys, we will see as always. So again, F.O.P, we're here from our perspective to yours. Thank you so much for tuning in with us, guys. We're glad to be back. We're gonna do this again. Yo, check us out. We're going to be here. Check out my boy's TikToks. He's been killing his thing every day, all the time. If you want a quick movie review, check that out. Check us out on our IGs. I'm going to shout mine out real quick at Joshy5K on Instagram and Twitter. John, tell them where you at.
You can find me at Twitter and on Instagram at John-Imre97. And, of course, like my lovely brother said, Emery Talks on TikTok, where I traditionally just give you those quick out-of-theater reviews on how I'm feeling about something. And, Until next time, right?
Next time.
From our perspective to yours, right?
Catch you soon.